Hello everybody, my name is Zach. Hope you're all having a fantastic day and welcome to the day 150 recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season. And without further delay, let's just jump into everything that happened last night. Well, I can't say that I saw this one coming. Now keep in mind that this story could be nothing but a bunch of hot air since it didn't come from Paul George's mouth himself, but instead from a anonymous source. But a story came out yesterday claiming that Paul George would love to team up with none other than Gordon Hayward. Now after hearing that, my mind already drew two conclusions of where this story came from. Either from a Boston Celtics fanboy who had a wet dream about seeing Paul George, Isaiah Thomas, and Gordon Hayward all share the court together, or from an Indiana fan that thinks Gordon Hayward would come back to his hometown because since he was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, to play with Paul George. And just for the sake of imagination, let's entertain this thought. Paul George and Gordon Hayward on the same team. It would be interesting to say the least. The first thought being is that both of them play the same position, but I don't think it would be too much to ask for either of them to move over to the 2 guard. And then there's always the option of going small and playing George at the 4. And who knows, it could work out. But if it requires Hayward going back home to Indiana, then I think it might be a hard sell. Yeah, he gets to pair up with George there, and that's great and all, but he's currently on the Jazz. And the Jazz are a really good team, in case you didn't know. They have the 5th best record in the NBA, and they're still really young. Gobert is one of the best defenders the NBA has to offer, and he has improved a lot on the offensive end this year, and will most likely be even better offensive player next year. Rodney Hood, who if he can stay healthy is a good shooter and a good slasher. And overall, they really just have a solid team that can compete for a championship with a few more additions to their team. So the Pacers would have a hard time convincing Gordon Hayward, even if they are his home city team, to come back and play with Paul George when he has such a good thing going in Utah. So that's it for the Indiana. Now let's take a look at it from the Celtics side. If the Celtics already had Paul George and they were to approach Gordon Hayward in free agency, the temptation would be strong to form a big 3 with IT and PG-13 and still have a solid player like Al Horford and getting to play with his old college coach and Brad Stevens. I'm sure that would be a very tempting package for Gordon Hayward, but the Celtics don't have Paul George, and they most likely won't by the time it's time for Hayward to make his decision this summer. And yeah, Boston could still make this happen if they sign Hayward by waiting until George is a free agent the following summer, but then the problem becomes money. They're going to have to give Hayward the max. Isaiah Thomas is about to be due for an extension, he's gonna want the max. And of course, Paul George is going to want his money too. So overall, the idea of Paul George and Gordon Hayward sharing the court together is interesting and it is possible. It is definitely possible, but it is also kind of unrealistic, and in Boston's case it would be kind of very expensive, but they could do it if they wanted to. So Derrick Rose has had one of the more interesting NBA careers up to this point. From being drafted by his hometown team in Chicago back in 2008, to winning the MVP in 2011, to tearing just about every ligament in his knees, to coming back and really struggling to find an identity, to getting injured again, and finally to getting traded to the New York Knicks. However, this summer is about to be a new chapter for Derrick Rose, as this will be the first time in his career that he will enter unrestricted free agency. It's crazy to think that he's been through all of this before he's even been a free agent. Where he will end up though, no one knows. Earlier this season, it was reported that Rose wanted a max contract worth around $130 million. However, as it turns out, that might not be the case, as Rose came out to the media and said this: "Not even thinking money. I've got more than enough money saved. If I stop playing basketball right now, I'll be alright. I want to win. I want to be happy and feel at peace with myself wherever I'm at. But being at the negotiating table, you never know. I'm not going to negotiate with people where money is the #1 thing I'm asking for. I want to win." Now, Rose may no longer be his former MVP self. However, I think he's been having a better season than most people will give him credit for. Even amid everything that's been going on in New York this season, Rose has still managed to put up respectable 17.8 points per game on just under 47% shooting from the field. Not bad at all, even if his 3-point shooting leaves much to be desired. Even better than that though is that he has shown that he can stay healthy, which I think was the biggest concern for him considering his inabilities to do so up to this point in his career. And if he really means that winning means more to him than money than this point in his career, then I'm sure he'll find some playoff caliber teams that'll be interested in his services. And I'm not sure of how great a fit it would be, but if the Spurs can't manage to sign, CP3 or another point guard like that, then would Rose be a bad fit for San Antonio? For Rose, I know it would be a great fit considering, San Antonio has a really good regimen when it comes to keeping players healthy. But do you guys think that the San Antonio Spurs can have some interest in Rose for the right price? Let me know down in the comment section. But that about wraps up all the news and extras from last night. Now let's jump straight into the games. The Brooklyn Nets have a winning streak. I can't believe this actually happened. The Nets have now won 2 in a row after their 126-96 win over the Suns, thanks to a scorching hot second half where the Nets scored 74 points and Brooklyn's bench was huge last night, scoring 81 points. And I gotta give props to where props are due. That is impressive. McDaniels led the bench in scoring with 16 points and 8 rebounds, while Lopez had 19 points for the starters, and Rondae Hollis-Jefferson had 16 rebounds. Meanwhile, for the Suns, it isn't as bad as it seems, since every win for the Nets is a win for them, since they want to get the best draft pick possible come June. Devin Booker scored 28 for Phoenix. Speaking of second halves, that's exactly what the Raptors used to gain the edge over Miami last night. The Raptors burned the Heat 56-37 in the second half to come away with a 101-84 win, even though they were without Ibaka since he was serving his 1-game suspension for fighting. DeRozan, though, became the first Raptors player since Vince Carter back in 2001 to record back-to-back 40-point games, as he had 40 points and 6 rebounds last night, while Hassan Whiteside had 16 points and 14 rebounds for the Heat. The Spurs did a great thing yesterday by paying tribute to the oldest living World War II veteran, Richard Overton, who is 110 years old. But they also paid tribute to Vince Carter, the oldest playing NBA veteran, by handing his team, the Memphis Grizzlies, an L, after the Grizzlies had gotten the best of San Antonio a few games ago. 97-90 was the final score, and the Spurs only turned the ball over 6 times the entire game. LaMarcus Aldridge led the way for San Antonio with 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks, and Kawhi Leonard contributed 17 points. Meanwhile, for the Grizzlies, Mike Conley scored 22. JJ Barea was ejected for throwing Blake Griffin to the ground in this one as he was coming off a screen. Harrison Barnes was back in his natural position instead of playing the 4, and Nerlens Noel has been promoted to a starter. And on top of that, the Dallas Mavericks get the narrow 97-95 win over the Clippers. Barnes looked a lot more comfortable at the small forward position, scoring 21 points, including a jumper with around 11 seconds left to give the Mavs a lead. Seth Curry also contributed 23 for Dallas, while Blake Griffin scored 21, and DeAndre Jordan had 14 points and 18 rebounds for the Clippers. Derrick Rose and Carmelo Anthony were both sit out this one for New York. Rose was out with some foot issues, and Carmelo was out due to a sore knee. Anyways, Damian Lillard came out of the gates red hot, scoring 15 points in the first quarter. With the Blazers still out of the playoff picture, he knows that he has to do whatever it takes to get the Blazers nothing but wins at this point in the season. And they did get the win last night, 110-95. After scoring 15 in the first, Dame finished with 30, while CJ McCollum had 20 and Nurkic had 16 points and 10 rebounds. Porzingis had 18 points and 9 rebounds for the Knicks, and the Blazers are now just 1 game behind Denver with 11 games left in their season. And that about wraps up all the action for the day 150 recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season, and now it's time to get into the player of the day. Yesterday, you guys selected Rudy Gobert and his 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 blocks as your player of the day, and here are today's nominees. You have DeMar DeRozan and his 40 points and 6 rebounds, LaMarcus Aldridge and his 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks, Damian Lillard and his 30 points and 5 assists, or Seth Curry and his 23 points and 4 assists. As always, you guys can go vote for the player of the day right now. The link to the poll will be in the description box down below. But other than that, thank you guys once again for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like on it and subscribe if you haven't already for more daily NBA videos. And until tomorrow, keep getting the buckets, Team SDC, and I'm out of here. Peace!